Hey Questers, welcome back to Questhut, your home for mind-bending science and thought-provoking questions. Science is often seen as humanity's ultimate tool, a lens that reveals every secret of the universe. From splitting atoms to sequencing DNA to photographing black holes, we've pushed knowledge to astonishing frontiers. It's easy to believe there's nothing science can't eventually explain. But here's the twist. Even the greatest scientific minds admit there are limits. Some questions seem to exist just beyond the reach of data, equations, and experiments. Not because they're mystical, but because they belong to a different category. Questions about meaning, existence, and experience. In this journey, we'll explore 5 questions science cannot fully answer, and you'll see why that's not a weakness of science, but one of its most beautiful truths. Science can take us all the way back to the Big Bang, the moment the universe began expanding from an unimaginably dense point. We can describe how energy condensed into matter, how atoms formed, how galaxies emerged, and how stars were born and died to create the elements that make you and me. It's a breathtaking story, one that begins with light bursting into darkness. But even if we rewind everything to that first instant, one question remains. Why is there anything at all? Why does the universe exist instead of an empty void? No space, no time, no laws. Why does something win over nothing? Physicist Lawrence Krauss once proposed that something can come from nothing through quantum fluctuations. But as philosophers pointed out, that nothing isn't really nothing. It's a bubbling quantum field full of potential, governed by laws that already exist. So the question shifts again. Where did those laws come from? It's like peeling an onion. Every layer of explanation reveals another layer beneath it. You can say a car moves because of its engine. The engine runs because of fuel. The fuel burns because of chemistry. And chemistry works because of physics. But when you finally ask why physics itself exists, there's no more layer left to peel. Science may forever start with given that the universe exists, because it can only study what's already here. The origin of existence itself might not be a scientific question. It may belong to philosophy, or perhaps to wonder itself. Hey, if you're enjoying this exploration so far, give this video a like. It really helps more curious minds find our content. And if you love deep questions like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next journey into the unknown. Speaking of journeys, let's take this one a step deeper. We've explored the universe out there, but now it's time to turn inward. Because here's a question that shakes the very core of identity. What are you, really? You are not your body, not exactly. Your skin, your blood, your organs, all can be replaced, yet something of you remains. That you is consciousness, the mysterious feeling of being aware. Neuroscience can show us the physical side. 86 billion neurons firing, signals racing through the brain's electric highways. We can locate where memory lives, where emotions spark, where speech forms. But no brain scan, no matter how advanced, can reveal what it feels like to be you. It's like trying to explain why a movie makes you cry by analyzing each frame. You can study the pixels and the sound waves, but the emotion? That's beyond the data. That's the mystery philosophers call the hard problem of consciousness. How do atoms, which are lifeless, organize themselves into thoughts, dreams, and love? How does chemistry awaken into experience? It's as if matter learned to look at itself and wonder. Even artificial intelligence deepens the puzzle. When an AI says, "I understand," does it truly understand or just simulate understanding? It's like comparing a weather forecast app to an actual thunderstorm. Both talk about rain, but only one feels it. Science can map consciousness, even manipulate it. But the inner experience, the what it's like, remains locked within the first-person view. It's the one experiment that can never be shared, the one truth that can't be measured from the outside. Science runs on evidence, what can be observed, tested, and repeated. But supernatural ideas, like God, souls, or the afterlife, don't usually follow those rules. They belong to a different domain altogether. It's like trying to measure a dream with a ruler. The tool simply doesn't fit the question. That's why science can't disprove the supernatural, because by definition, the supernatural lies outside the physical system science studies. It's not that science is blind, it's just looking with the wrong kind of light. When someone asks, can science prove God exists? The honest answer is no, but not because God doesn't exist. It's because proof in science means measurable, repeatable data. Belief in God, or the soul, often rests on personal experience, faith, or philosophy, things you can't place in a test tube. Even Albert Einstein, who wasn't religious in the traditional sense, often spoke of the mystery behind existence, the sense of awe that science itself awakens. He said, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious." And perhaps that's where science and spirituality quietly meet, in wonder. They are not enemies, but two languages describing the same reality. Science explains how the universe works. Spirituality asks why it exists at all. Science can describe how morality developed through evolution, cooperation, and the survival of social groups. It can show that empathy releases oxytocin, or that fairness triggers reward centers in our brain. But science can't tell us what's right or wrong. It can explain why we feel guilt, but not whether we should feel it. Take lying, for instance. Neuroscience can measure brain activity when we lie, the stress hormones that rise, the inner conflict that flares. Yet it can't decide whether lying to protect someone's feelings is moral or not. Morality isn't a law of nature like gravity. It's a creation of consciousness, a dance between emotion, reason, and culture. As philosopher David Hume said, you can't get an ought from an is. Science deals with what is, not with what should be. That's why ethical debates about cloning, AI rights, or the environment can't be solved by data alone. Science gives us the facts. But humans must decide the values. In a way, morality is the poetry we write on top of nature's prose. It's what turns intelligence into wisdom and progress into purpose. Quick break. If you've made it this far, you're clearly one of the few who think deeply. So here's your challenge. Tell us in the comments, which of these questions fascinates you the most? And if you're learning something new today, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll never miss our next exploration. Speaking of exploration, let's explore something we often feel but rarely question: beauty. It seems subjective, yet it quietly shapes everything we do. Art, music, design, even science itself. All are driven by a search for something beautiful. From the curve of a shell to the swirl of a galaxy, beauty feels like a universal language. Neuroscience tells us that symmetry, color balance, and rhythm light up the brain's reward centers. That's why we find certain faces attractive or melodies pleasing. But that's only the surface. No brain scan can explain why one person weeps at a Beethoven symphony while another feels nothing. The same frequencies enter the ear, yet the experience, the meaning, is entirely personal. It's like chemistry explaining sugar molecules but never capturing the sweetness you taste. The science of beauty can map patterns, but the awe beauty inspires belongs to another realm. Even scientists feel it when they talk about elegant equations or simple yet profound laws. Einstein once said, "The laws of nature should be as simple as possible, but not simpler." That's not logic alone, that's aesthetics guiding discovery. Beauty bridges two worlds, the measurable and the meaningful. It reminds us that being human isn't just about understanding, it's about feeling. Science is one of humanity's greatest creations, our collective attempt to read the mind of the universe. It tells us how stars burn, how DNA copies life, how mountains rise and crumble. It's the language through which nature speaks to reason. But beyond all that knowledge lie the oldest questions of all. Why are we here? What does it mean to exist? What is the value of love, truth, and beauty? Science can illuminate the how, but meaning comes from us, the observers, the dreamers, the storytellers. If science is the map, then philosophy and art are the compass and poetry that help us navigate it. Together, they make understanding feel alive. So maybe the fact that some questions have no scientific answers isn't a flaw. It's an invitation to wonder, to imagine, and to see knowledge not as a cage, but as a gateway. Because when science reaches its edge, curiosity begins. And that endless curiosity is what makes us human. If you enjoyed this journey, show it some love. Like this video, share it with someone curious, and drop a comment about the question that stays with you. And of course, subscribe to Questhut for more deep science stories that make you feel the universe, not just understand it. Until next time, stay curious.